Do you know light is not continuous, it is discontinuous and discrete. Have you ever wondered that light has a dual nature, that is particle nature as well as wave nature, and how do you came to know? And on what principle solar panel work? All these questions have one answer: photoelectric effect. Metal consists of electrons. When electromagnetic wave or light falls on these electrons, they are ejected from the metal surface. This phenomenon or effect is called as photoelectric effect. Now let us see how the photoelectric effect happens. Einstein theory proposed that electromagnetic waves or light are particle nature and they are quantized. Let us understand what is quantized. In general, we see light as a straight line, but when we zoom it to the atomic level, we can see that light is discontinuous. It is small packets of energy called photons. Each photon has equal amount of energy. Now, this is known as quantization. And if a photon is traveling with a high velocity, it collides with the metallic surface and with the electron in it. The energy is transferred from photon to the electron, and the electron is ejected from the metallic surface due to collision. And collision occurs only on particles. This proves that electromagnetic waves have a particle nature. Einstein proposed a special equation for the photoelectric effect. This is known as Einstein photoelectric equation. The equation states that energy of the photon is equal to work function plus kinetic energy. Work function is the minimum energy to eject the electron and its symbol is phi. Let us take an example where the energy of the photon is 10 joule and the work function be 3 joule. Then the kinetic energy of the ejected electron will be 10 minus 3, 7 joule. If we see this with the equation, we can know that energy of the photon is equal to work function 3 joule plus kinetic energy, that is the 7 joule, and it satisfies the photoelectric equation. Work function depends on metal. If we change the metal, then only the work function will change, otherwise it will remain the same. Let us take another example where the energy of the photon is equal to 3 joule. Then the electron will just get ejected out from the surface without any kinetic energy. The kinetic energy will be 0. Light has frequency. The formula for the energy of the light equals to h mu. H is equal to Planck's constant and its value is constant. Here the work function is equal to energy of the photon, that is h mu equals to phi. Here the mu becomes mu naught because it is the minimum energy for which the electron is ejected. The formula for the work function is also equal to h mu naught. Effect of intensity and frequency in photoelectric effect. Intensity or amplitude. It is the number of photons per unit area per second. Suppose you are shooting photons at a very slow rate in the first case, and in the second case you are shooting the photons at a very high rate. In the first case, every 1 second you are shooting 2 photons, but in second case every 1 second you are shooting 4 photons, and we know that number of photons is directly proportional to number of electrons. So in the first case the ejected electron will be 2, but in the second it will be 4. So we conclude that increasing the intensity and amplitude, the number of electrons also increases. They are directly proportional. Effect of frequency. If we increase the frequency, then the energy of the photon will also increase. If we take a case where if you are shooting a photon with the energy take 10 joule, then the work function of the metal if 3 joule, then the kinetic energy of the ejected electron will be 10 minus 3, 7 joule. And in the second case, if we increase the energy, then the energy of the photon will also increase. Let us suppose take 20 joule, and here we take the same metal, then the energy of the ejected electron will be 20 minus 3, that is 17 joule. Here we see that increasing the frequency increases the kinetic energy of the ejected electron. Observation of photoelectric effect has proved the particle nature of light and the discrete nature of the light. Without the photoelectric effect observation, the particle nature and discrete nature would not have been possible. Solar panel. Solar panel are based on the principle of photoelectric effect, which is very simple. When the sunlight falls on the solar panel, electrons are ejected, and when electrons are moving, current is produced, thus electricity is produced. It is a very simple principle to be understood. It is so simple to produce electricity, then I got an idea about it. We have abundant metal in the earth. There are so many metals, iron, copper, and plenty of them are available. And sunlight, it is also abundant sufficiently. Then why don't we produce electricity cheap and for everyone? Why we have to pay for it? But I am sorry, it doesn't work that way. Photoelectric effect has its own complications. Photoelectric effect is observed with a metal surface which is not oxidized and inside a vacuum chamber and with a proper setup. Without this we cannot observe photoelectric effect. And according to Einstein photoelectric equation, the energy of the photon is equal to work function plus kinetic energy, which means the energy of the photon must be greater than the work function of the metal. But energy of the sunlight is less than the metal work function that everyday use, that is aluminium, copper or any other metal, and these metal surfaces are already oxidized due to the atmospheric exposure, and proper setup is needed in order to observe the photoelectric effect. In solar panels, there is a proper setup and the energy of the sunlight is greater than the work function of the metal. Here we use special metals such as amorphous silicon and cadmium telluride. These have very thin thickness, that is 130 to 240 micrometer. Let's summarize the whole video. We learnt about photoelectric effect and the particle nature of light and what is quantization, and how the effect of intensity or amplitude affects the number of electrons, and how the increase in frequency increases the kinetic energy of the electron. And don't forget about the work function that only depends on the metal only. And I hope someday you find the electricity and more efficient solar panel.